Hello and welcome to this short overview of AutoChartist's emerging patterns. We have briefly touched on the concept of emerging patterns in both videos on chart patterns and Fibonacci patterns. The purpose of this video is to explore this special class of pattern a little bit further and to look at the different ways in which they can benefit you as a trader. Due to the nature of how chart patterns are identified, we were able to adapt the AutoChartist recognition engine to find chart patterns as soon as they touch the last point on either the support or resistance line necessary to complete its shape. At this point, we know the shape of the pattern, but we don't know whether the price would continue to break through support or resistance. This is the fundamental difference between an emerging and complete pattern. When an emerging pattern is identified, price still trades between the support and resistance lines. If a pattern has completed, then it means that the price has broken through the support or resistance line. Does it matter in which direction it breaks out? Yes, most definitely. The breakout has to happen away from the last turning point. There are some other characteristics that will also tell you what the direction of the breakout should be, and those are the direction of the initial trend together with whether the pattern is a reversal or continuation. Remember our discussion in the video on chart patterns. Continuation patterns break out in the same direction as initial trend, while reversal patterns break out in the opposite direction to the initial trend. The easiest way for you to know in which direction the pattern is expected to break out is to see where the direction arrow is pointing. On the graph, there are a number of visual clues that tells you whether you're looking at an emerging or completed pattern. The most obvious feature of an emerging pattern is the two yellow dotted lines that extend the support and resistance lines. Their purpose is to give you a visual of the continuation of the expected trading range. The opportunity that many swing traders are looking for are situations where price becomes range-bound and it continues to bounce between support and resistance. They go long on the upward bounce and short on the downward, for as long as it stays within the range. The most obvious feature of a completed pattern is the grey forecast region with the coloured target level. If you see this construction next to a chart pattern, then you will know that it has completed by breaking through either the support or resistance level, and it has an overall average chance of 70% that it will reach the target level. In this grid below, you can distinguish between emerging and completed patterns in the type column, as well as the direction arrow. Completed patterns have colored arrows, while the arrows of emerging patterns are grayed out. Let's take a look at some trade opportunities on emerging patterns. As we've said before, the most common way in which people trade emerging patterns is by trading the upswings and downswings within the range between support and resistance. For this reason, we would want to look for emerging patterns where the range is sufficiently wide and where it doesn't become too narrow too soon. So it's trending patterns like channels that we find ideal, and not so much the non-trending patterns like triangles. Now we simply try to find patterns that have a nicely defined range that have just bumped off the support or resistance line, that has a reasonable distance to cover until it reaches the opposite boundary. Another thing to take note of is that whenever you find an emerging pattern here in the Active Trading Opportunities section, you can assume it is still tradable. That's the purpose of this tab. And remember that there is no sure, quick-fire way to land yourself a lot of money. You have to use that clever brain of yours, listen to what other people who have more experience have to say, and do your homework. That way you increase your chances of success. And you can use AutoChartist to save you a lot of time in the process. Give us a shout whenever you need any help. Email us on support@autochartist.com. We like hearing from our users. Thanks for watching and the best of luck with your trading.